care of the quality, to preserve the quality of the leaves and the cigars, you know. So when we get there, we cannot go inside the factory with bags, neither with cameras. Everything has to stay on the bus. Okay? You will be taking pictures with your eyes and remember everything you will see and be explained there. After that, we are coming to a palace from the 19th century to enjoy a rum, coffee, cigar tasting. There we will be learning more about coffee, we'll be learning more about Cuban rum, and how to have a smart mixed between them. And we are going to do between these two places panoramic tour, stopping also one of the iconic places in Havana, which is the Revolution Square, and doing a panoramic tour up to the modern Havana also. So it's all will be giving you the possibility to see a little bit of old Havana and a little bit of what Cubans we call modern Havana. I like to call it personally less old Havana because it's still old. Okay, so that will be the plan. We should be back to the terminal around 2:45, 2:30, 2:45. Okay. Any question about the plan? So, talking a little bit about Havana on the way to the factory. Havana, this is old Havana. This is what the Spanish built for us. It was founded in 1519, meaning that this year we are celebrating 500 years of being founded. Wow. So Havana was founded in this place November 16, 1519. Okay? We were a colony from Spain for 4 centuries. And during 4 centuries, what the Spanish built practically in this city was old Havana. And a little bit of Havana Center. The rest of the city was built practically in 50 years during the American period. So it's the Havana you're going to be seeing the most. Spanish and American period of the city. American period means from 1902 up to 1959. Okay, so we are in Havana, 2.2 million people. This is the smallest province in the island, the most crowded one. 2.2 million in the city of Havana, being the capital of Cuba. A lot of Cubans come to Havana just to look for better opportunities of jobs, better way of living, as all capitals in the world, right? So in the island we have 11.2 million people. And this area that we're going to be seeing now is like part of the end of the Spanish
Go back to that, right?
Havana was surrounded by a city wall for around 3 centuries. Look how many Cubans waiting outside this building. This is part of the Spanish embassy. And for around 20 years, from Monday to Friday, we have that amount of people there. 20 years, Monday to Friday, the whole day. Why is that? It's because Spain, for all these amount of years, we're going to be passing back here, so I will be explaining everything, okay? Spain has been giving the Spanish nationality to all Cubans, Spanish descendants, up to the 4th generation. You know how many Cubans are Spanish descendants? You know how many Cubans are Spanish descendants? All of us.
100%, yeah.
We were Spanish 4 centuries, 400 years. We are 500 years, right? So a lot of Cubans, of course, by proving with documents that we are Spanish descendants, you will be given the Spanish nationality by law, legally. You can have 2 nationalities, the Cuban one and the Spanish one. And having the Spanish one is great for Cubans because we are free to travel wherever we want.
Wow.
That's why Cubans, they really insist in proving that we are Spanish descendants. It's a long process, it's not that easy, but it has been working for thousands and thousands of Cubans. We're gonna be coming back this area to see what we have just passed by. All this area, it is the city wall for 3 centuries. 1850s, we needed to expand the city already. It was too crowded in old Havana with that city wall with 9 gates. So the middle high class of Havana back then, they decided to break a little bit the wall and come outside. These hotels and theaters and cafes that we have around is from that era, from that period. It was like the chic neighborhood for them to go out of the old town and spend their free time having the promenade here. Okay? So this was the first time, 1860s, 1870s, that we built all these huge buildings, Spanish period, but with American technology already. Elevator service, telephone service, power service, for the first time in those big buildings. So this park to your right is our mini Central Park. And that one was built by the Americans. When we had that empty space, they decided to name it like that, Central Park. And that will be the part in the division between the 2 important neighborhoods in this area. Old Havana to the left, Havana Center to the right. Why in Havana we had a city wall? Because the King of Spain decided to give us a noble title as the key of the New World. And that meant that all the Spanish fleet, after stealing everything from the Americas, they had to come to Havana. Because the harbor of Havana, if you saw the entrance of the canal, is very narrow. But then the bay goes deep and wide in the back. So he said that having the fleet full of treasure stolen around in the back of the Bay of Havana to do the whole financial process would be a good idea. It was a good idea for him, but not for us. We became the most attacked city by pirates. And that means that nowadays we are the most fortified harbor in the whole Caribbean Sea. We have 4 fortresses around the bay. Plus we used to have the city wall. Okay? That's the reason why we preserved the old town. When the revolution arrived in 1959, it was not a priority of Fidel Castro's government to restore what it was already built by the Spanish and the Americans. The priority of the revolution was to build hospitals, schools, polyclinics, and big communities for family homes outside the cities. Meaning that by the time we started looking at what the Spanish and the American had built, for certain neighborhoods like here, it was a little bit late. So what happened exactly in Havana? 1920s, 1930s, 1940s was the boom of the American investment in Cuba, and specifically in Havana. So a lot of American companies started coming in here to build the new modern Havana, meaning that middle high class from the old town moved to the new beautiful city. And who stay in this area? Low class. And not only low class, but all the thousands of Cubans that started coming from other provinces to work in the new American companies. So this area is very overcrowded because buildings like the one you're seeing around, and you will be still seeing around, that were built for maybe 1 or 2 family upstairs, and let's say that a family business in the ground floor. Nowadays we have 15, 20 families upstairs, and maybe some families also on the ground floor, or maybe still a restaurant or a store or a workshop or a cafeteria or whatever, even a school in the ground floor. So it's a very crowded neighborhood. When we look around, the style from the architectural point of view, they are still gorgeous. Even if the building is dilapidated, the style is still beautiful. We just need to restore them. We have restored, let's say 45% of the old town, meaning that the rest we haven't yet. Step by step, it requires a lot of money, a lot of time, besides the bad weather, the hurricane season, and everything else that keeps coming to Cuba. We are trying step by step to save Havana. Okay? So if you walk a little bit later in Old Town, you will be seeing how beautiful we have restored the Old Town already. and it was even worse than in this area. So meaning that we can achieve that, but that will be with time. Okay? When coming back here, I will show you the Capitol building and all that we have been seeing, okay? We are just going straight to the factory because we cannot miss our appointment at the cigar factory. Because if we don't get there on time, we will be having a problem. It's a factory, it's a real one, there are real workers there, and they have their schedule to get visitors there. So let's explain a little bit about the factory and what you're going to see there. This is like the final process, right? Because in Cuba, the tobacco process starts, of course, in the farms. The farms in Cuba are located all along the island, but the most important tobacco region in Cuba is Pinar del Rio province, which is next to Havana. The next province to us is Pinar del Rio, and there we have the best soil to produce tobacco plants. The soil is a specific sandy soil, like sand, that in Cuba is considered one of the best in the world, and that is why the Cuban cigars that we call Habanos are so famous all over the world, even considered by the professionals and the smokers as the best in the world. And I know Cubans, we love to use superlatives. We are the best on this, we have the most important, the biggest, the first one in the world. We love to say this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's just Cuban way. But related to two important things, cigars and classic vintage cars, we are the best. That's for sure. So the tobacco farms are private. The majority of the land where we cultivate tobacco is done by the private farmers. Okay? It's a long process. The seeds are provided by the government to the farmers. Why is that? Because the seed needs a special condition from one season or from one harvest to the other to be preserved. And the farmers, they don't have those conditions in their farms, in their houses. So at the state, they have special places where they preserve the seed to get the right quality for each season. So the state will be providing the seed to the farmers every single year. Even though from the plants, when it gets flowers, you can get more seeds if you like. The farmers, they can even get those seeds and even have more tobacco plants. But those tobacco plants, basically, they won't be the one for the special cigars or the most important brands. That will be maybe for the cigarettes or for the mini cigars that they may produce during some season. Or basically the one that we use for the national consumption. Meaning that from the cigar, for the cigars that we export, the quality is really required from the very beginning. That start with the quality of the seeds. Okay? The process will be starting on August by preparing the field to plant the soil. Have you ever seen the cigar, the tobacco seeds? It's like powder. It's tiny, tiny. Here we are. We're gonna be